welcome to Bookmas Day 2. This video is going to be my end of year book tag. We are going to look back on the books I read in 2025 and kind of categorize them. I have a list of bookish questions that I'm going to answer and basically sort a load of the books I read into these categories. I've done this twice already, I believe. This has become like a 3-year tradition at this point. We are starting off with kind of like a juicy one, and that is the most disappointing book of the year for me, and that book was Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. I was super excited going into this book, so just to kind of show it off. This book came highly recommended online. It also looks pretty cool in my opinion. I thought almost like a gothic vibe going on. I know a lot of romantasy kind of has similar vibe with covers and stuff. It's a trend thing, you know? Someone does it first, it sells really well, and then everyone else does it too. There's nothing wrong with that in my opinion, because obviously you're going to try to sell your book. That's the whole point. That's what happened with like cartoon covers on romance books. I think that was a good trend. I think that was a good thing to happen, because it used to be like shirtless men. I don't want a shirtless man on my bookshelf, thank you very much. It does look like your typical kind of romantasy that you would see in the bookshop, but it just, I don't know, I just thought it looked cool and gothic. And then I also saw online that people really loved it. The premise is a game. Phantasma, you enter this house. In the house, there are trials based on the deadly sins. You try to pass each trial to keep going, and the last person standing essentially, or the person who gets through all the trials, wins a wish. That premise to me was super exciting. It sounds extremely like Caraval, which I adore. I love that series. I heard that this was kind of a better Caraval, or like a more adult Caraval, because Caraval is YA. So when I heard that, I was like, oh my god, yes, this will build a hole left in my life by the ending of the Caraval series, or by me finishing the Caraval series. And that was not the case. You could see that half the problem going into this book was me, because I had such high expectations for this book. Other book reviewers I really trust and agree with generally gave it like 4 stars. To me, that was like, wow, yeah, this is a good one. Not the case for me. I do think some people will adore this book. I didn't like it. I have a few problems. First, I didn't like the predictability of the twist at the end. It was incredibly predictable from very early on. I try not to let that make the experience worse for me, but I do just think it is full stop predictable. I cannot imagine people actually being shocked by the twist in this book. So that kind of annoyed me. Second of all, there was a lot of trials. I love a trial book. I've said that. The problem with this trial book is that there are 7 trials. There's sub 500 pages in here, and you have to fit 7 trials, 7 deadly sins. Is there 7 trials? I could be so wrong. Let me check. There are 9. Oops, sorry for the misinformation, guys. There are actually 9 trials, not 7. I don't know where I got 7 from. There's less than 500 pages, and there are 9 trials. So that means that there's a trial at least every 50 pages. And that would be okay if the trials started immediately, but they don't. They're set up, obviously, like they have to get into the house. That means it's crammed into an even shorter amount of time. That would just assume that the trial is like 1 page long. It's not. It has to be a few pages long. And so it just felt very hurried. Another reason it felt hurried is because the author really wanted to squeeze in a load of smut. Nothing against smut. I read romance. But I have a level where I don't like the author sacrificing the plot or giving less screen time to the plot to just have more sexy scenes in there. And that's what the problem with this really felt like. There were so many smut scenes that I didn't care for. I didn't think was sexy, because the rest of the book was just annoying me. This page could have been given to the trial, and the trial could have been more fleshed out. That's kind of my feelings on the things that were going wrong in here. And I think I gave this book 2 stars, and I didn't give it 1 star because there was actually a really good depiction of OCD and like that obsessive compulsive tendencies in here, and I thought that was really impressive and done and handled extremely well by the author. There's a specific scene I'm thinking of, I want to say 3/4 of the way through the book, or near the end anyway, in the second half, that really was a fantastic scene. If it had been in any other book, I would have been blown away by the whole thing, but it was just, that scene is a standout to me, and I think the author did a great job of portraying OCD the way they did. That's kind of its only redeeming quality to me, and the thing that makes it stick out. All of that being said, I'm not continuing this series. There's already a second book, and it follows the main character's sister. So it's very similar to how Caraval splits off and follows a different character in the second book. It might be for some people, but it was a really big disappointment for me. Next, we have the most overhyped book of the year, and I am going to say Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. I am fairly certain that Iron Flame was the book I put in this category last year. So like, we're not doing great, guys. We're not doing fantastic in my world and my experience with the Fourth Wing series. These books are beloved online, and people cannot get enough of Fourth Wing. I got it with the first book, didn't get it with the second book at all. Quite disliked the second book in the grand scheme of things, and now that I've had time to kind of stew on it and had a whole year to really go, you know what, I didn't enjoy it that much. And then the third book is starting to come back towards more Fourth Wingy, but still wasn't as good as the original. I have a complicated relationship with this series. I'll probably keep reading it. I've done some introspection. I've had conversations with friends, and we've really tried to get down to the core of what my problem with the Fourth Wing series is. On paper, this is such a me book series. I love romantasy. I have been shipping characters together since before I knew what that meant. Like, think of 9-year-old me shipping Percy and Annabeth, but not really understanding what that meant. I love romance and I love fantasy. I love the escapism of fantasy. I adore all of the different worlds that people can think of. The only time I get a bit sick of fantasy is when it's repetitive or I've read too much. This is a romantasy, a romance fantasy. So like, what's the problem? But what I really think I enjoy in fantasy is fantasy with romance. Maybe not pure romantasy where the romance takes the forefront. Don't get me wrong, I still think certain romantasies are like 5+ stars, just not the Fourth Wing series for me. Other things that I think maybe don't gel well with me as a reader is with this book and Iron Flame particularly. There's simultaneously no downtime, but also nothing going on. That's a hard thing to do. For me, I actually don't mind a book having serious downtime. I actually kind of need it. I want to know more about the world. I want to go to class with Violet and see what she's learning in her dragon studies and her battle studies, history, the combat, whatever in her day-to-day with her friends, and kind of like gelling with her character. But from Iron Flame on, I feel like there's none of that going on anymore. It's almost like, no, we gotta go. Don't you know the series, it has to move. Iron Flame and Onyx Storm have felt like Fourth Wing, except there's Subway Surfers on the screen simultaneously to keep your attention. It's like it constantly has to be moving. Stuff has to be happening, but it's not interesting stuff, and it's repetitive stuff that's not fun to learn about. Yarros definitely wants to end each book on a cliffhanger. Naturally, I don't blame her, because like, that's interesting and fun. What happens in the second half, or last quarter really, is drag, plot twist, cliffhanger, whatever. It has to happen at the end. But it makes everything here super boring because she's trying to extend and push out the end of the book. Next, we have something a bit more positive than the last two, and that is a book that surprised me. I'm going to say the Dallergut Dream Department Store surprised me. I spoke about this not too long ago. I gave a full review. Basically, this book is about a dream department store where in your sleep you go to this department store and purchase dreams. The book follows a character working in the department store, everything she experiences and all the people she meets while working there, and basically this whole industry of dream making. We're learning through her about this world. I bought this book near the end of last year because I wanted a book that I hadn't heard of or seen advertised online, and I also wanted to just give something different a try. I walked into the bookstore, they had this laid out on a display table saying, hey, #1 bestseller, I think in Korea. The English translation is brand new. I'd never heard of it. The cover is also pretty whimsical. Naturally, for a book about dreams, you'd hope would be whimsical. I said I'd give it a go. I read the blurb and I thought it sounded sweet. Then it just went onto my shelf and started to kind of rot there. I wanted to read it when I got it, and then over time, obviously I was reading other books. Then I started to kind of go, wait, do I like magical realism books? I don't actually know. I read Before the Coffee Gets Cold and it was okay. I was starting to feel like maybe I wouldn't like this book because it is pure magic realism. And I was so wrong. It was great. It was fantastic. I stuck the second book on my want to read list. The stories stuck with me. Every day my fiance was coming home from work, I was excited to tell him about the story I'd read today. The way the book is kind of, just as a side, broken up is kind of into stories rather than chapters. It's all the same timeline and everything. They're kind of self-contained. It's hard to explain, but it's the same way Before the Coffee Gets Cold is. I really recommend this, and I haven't seen many people talk about it, but I really enjoyed it and I want to read the second book. Next, we have my favorite book couple, and that is going to be Evangeline and Jax from A Curse for True Love, or the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. The way this series took over my life for about 1 month. I was on a work trip when I started The Ballad of Never After, which is the second book in the series. I literally turned down invitations to go out for drinks so that I could go back to the hotel and read that book. There's something about the Evangeline Jax pairing that is so addictive. I was obsessed. I read The Ballad of Never After and A Curse for True Love back to back while on this work trip. I was walking past like market stalls, so it was a person selling like handmade stuff, and I saw this coaster and I was so obsessed with these characters that I had to get this coaster. I got 1 or 2 other coasters, like I wasn't buying just one coaster, I have a set. I saw the fox and I was like, Evangeline Fox, I need it. And Little Fox. I also made a full-on collage for the book series. It just captivated me, and this back and forth between Evangeline and Jax stunned me and had me so excited in a way a book couple haven't gripped me in a while. In this book I was like, if they don't get together right now, my heart is going to shatter. And also like the 3-book long slow burn, yes, that's how it's done. I want yearning for books on books on books. It's how I'm built. I always love when the couple get together, but I prefer the before, if you get me. The build up to where the tension finally breaks and the couple end up together or whatever. And the way it was done in these books, the build up and potential payoff. I'm not going to tell you how the book ends or what goes on. They're dynamic throughout the first, second and third book. The will they, won't they, the what the hell is going on here between them situation. I do think having read the Caraval series first really lent itself into this series, because Jax is in the Caraval series and he is not a good guy. Like, I wouldn't say #1 antagonist, but a semi-antagonist in that series. So have him as the male lead of his own series and a love interest was crazy, but done so well. Stephanie Garber, good job. Good job. This book couple like had me in a chokehold this year. I've already bought Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber, her brand new adult series. So let's hope she inspires the same level of yearning and fairy tale vibes as Evangeline and Jax from the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. Next, my favorite characters. So that was my favorite book couple. Now this is characters. and that is going to the characters from the Lord of the Rings series. So I haven't actually continued the series yet, but it is in the back of my head to maybe read the second book in January. The Fellowship of the Ring was actually one of the books that was in contention for my most surprising read of the year. I went into Fellowship not thinking I was going to like it that much, because to me the Lord of the Rings always seemed that step nerdier than who I am as a person. Clearly that's bullshit, and I really am just that nerdy. The heart of this series is, wow, the Fellowship, all of these fantastic characters coming together. Something else about me is I generally don't adore a road trip book. I don't love a whole book about walking somewhere, going somewhere. Apparently that's lies, because that's what this book is. This book is a fellowship, a group of characters doing a real long walk, a crazy long walk, don't get me wrong. It is the longest walk, and kind of just chilling together. And there's like stops along the way where you meet other characters, and those characters do whatever, various things. This book was really cozy, but also had actually kind of scary bits. The ring wraiths were terrifying, which was something I completely didn't see coming. This is a great book, and the characters are the heart of the series. They are the joy and the love in here, and their relationships with each other. It really feels like so many found family trope fantasy books come from here. I really don't think there's anything like it, especially for this character study we saw and how just beautiful all of the relationships are. I know this is like the least original take ever, but I really recommend The Lord of the Rings, and I can't wait to actually keep reading it. Next, we have my favorite new author, and so I want to put a little asterisk by new. This doesn't mean new in general, it means new to me. This author's been around forever and has written so many books, but this year is the first time I ever read one of their books. And that is Samantha Shannon, who wrote The Priory of the Orange Tree. I haven't really gotten the opportunity to talk about this book much because I just finished it last month in November. I haven't done a review anywhere. This book is also the longest book I read this year, which is actually the next category, so I'm just gonna smush these together. This book is 804 pages without the glossary and timeline and stuff. That is what kind of intimidated me about it, is because it's big and it's not something I can like carry to work in my purse. It's not something I can read on public transport very comfortably. It's heavy. I was kind of going against it. That didn't turn out to be a problem because I couldn't really put it down. Actually had to actively go, no, your limit is 100 today. You don't have time, Katie, to be reading for 300 pages. You need to go see your friends or make dinner or something. Things I loved about it, the characters. Okay, so I actually haven't told you anything about this book. I'm so sorry. I'm just really excited about it. This book is set in a world divided. That's a quote from the back, a world divided. We have the East and the West. My directions are probably wrong because I'm facing you, whatever. I know which way is East and West. Never eat shredded wheat. That's how they go for me, okay? There's East and the West. In the East, dragons. Yes, this is a dragon book. Dragons are seen as gods. They are revered. There are the special people chosen to ride said dragons, and like the dragon chooses the rider. The main POV we follow, she has spent her whole life in training to be a dragon rider. Will she get chosen by a dragon? And there's like trials and bits that she has to do against other wannabe dragon riders, because there can only be 12 or 13, for example, and there's what, 30. I'm making these numbers up. Do not trust me when it comes to specifics in this case. But yeah, not everyone gets to ride a dragon. You gotta be the best of the best, and the dragons choose you. And so it's basically like these gods laying out in front of you and going, that one, I want that stupid little human. There's something called the Red Plague, just like a dragon disease that humans can get, and it's incredibly contagious and it will kill you and kill everything around you. There's no cure. Like it's a very deadly, awful plague. The East does not let Westerners in unless it's under very specific circumstances, and they can be quarantined before interacting with people. It's all very serious. The West seemed a bit bigger and seemed a bit more like medieval England. That's kind of the vibe. It's a queendom where all of the heirs end up being female. The thing about the West is they hate dragons. Just to be clear, the types of dragon from the East and West are different. The godlike dragons are more like these kind of dragons. Not all of them have wings. Whereas in the West, it's much more like what I would see as a traditional dragon. Obviously, it depends on where you're from and what your mythologies look like. But what I would think of as a traditional dragon: stature, wings, breathes fire, may not have front legs, depends on whether that or a wyvern is a different thing. Anyway, the West are really against dragons and call them worms, W-Y-R-M-S. To them, the East look crazy and like heretics essentially, and we're kind of following characters in the West that believe a very specific religion and are very serious about their religion, and anyone who doesn't follow this religion are heretics. I don't know if that's the exact word that they use. They need to be essentially brought into this religion that the West believe in. That religion is very anti-dragon, and really this whole book is looking at, well, there's this side and there's this side. Meanwhile, evil dragons are stirring. The Red Plague is like spreading, people are dying. The two sides kind of need to reunite to take down the big bad dragon. What I really loved is I loved the characters. I thought they were so interesting. I also liked how the two sides became interwoven. First, they're pretty separate. The chapters are literally called East-West. So it was really cool to see them slowly come together. Oh, and then, oh no, they're not gonna overlap. And then bam, I won't get too much into that. I really like this universe and I understand it now. As with any kind of high fantasy book, it takes you a little bit to understand who's who, what's going on, why they are this way, all of that stuff, like what is this universe? But once you do, you're laughing. You get it all. And there's also a glossary and like timeline and stuff in the back. It is actually a standalone. There's more books in the same universe, but they're not at the same time or like the same characters. I put the next one on my list. It is actually a prequel set like 500 years before this book or something like that. I highly recommend it. I got to this late. This came out a few years ago, but like, oh my gosh, read it. It's a fantastic, fantastic book. Next, we have my favorite cover. It's going to the Cassandra Clare Kickstarter books. I only grabbed one because they're heavy and they're hardback. But first off, the dust jackets all look fairly similar to this. They're really cohesive and nice together. If you want to see my full review, the video will be linked, probably without the dust jacket. They're all like whatever color they are and then have the foil detailing on them. Inside also has art from whatever is relevant to the particular books. I really do like this green and gold combination. All four of those fall into my favorite cover category. And actually sticking with this careful of books, this one specifically, the next one was an unpopular book. I took unpopular as book with the least ratings, as in the least amount of people have read it. And I would say this book has been shelved 400 times, apparently. According to Goodreads, it's a Kickstarter exclusive. If you have the opportunity to get your hand on these stories, I recommend reading them. I really enjoyed them and it was an unpopular choice. Next, we have the best series or series of the year, and that is going to go to the Legendborn Cycle by Tracy Deonne. I read the second book in the series this year, and I am actually right now in the middle of the third book, which came out much earlier this year. This series is so good. This is a YA series that combines magic and demons with Arthurian legend. I love this. This particular combination of real life themes and mythology is made for me. I adore it. I even did pretty much a whole reading vlog, reading Bloodmarked. I love this series. I highly recommend this series to anyone who will listen. I think it's probably the best YA series to come out in the last 5 years, probably. It has everything you could ever want in YA fantasy. There is a romantic subplot. There is badass magic system or systems, question mark, no spoilies. There is fantastic characters, such real struggles, and so it has to get the best series of the year for me. It's not finished actually. I think there's supposed to be 5 books. I'm not sure. I didn't even realize there'd be a 4th book. Finally, the last question is a book or series that I wish everyone would read. I think this is kind of obvious. Anyone who knows anything about me or books I choose to read, they know Cassandra Clare. This is the Chronicles of Castellane, I believe is the official title of the series. I never hear enough hype about the Chronicles of Castellane, the Castellane series. Swordcatcher was the first book. This is Rag Picker King, the second book. On my first read of Swordcatcher, I thought it was really good, but still lacked in certain areas. I was still a bit like, oh, look, it's a new series, so maybe there's growing pains here. It's also Cassandra Clare's first adult fantasy series rather than just YA. And so I gave her a lot of grace and space going into Swordcatcher. The second time I read Swordcatcher, it's like it clicked. This is not something I feel alone. There was actually other people, like creators online, saying that they didn't vibe too hard with Swordcatcher the first time, but they reread it in time for Rag Picker King and they got it. Suddenly it was like, oh, this is so much better the second time. And I agree. I really, really agree. I think Swordcatcher is more digestible and fun the second time, and I think that might be because of the world building. You know the world after reading it the first time, so on your second read you don't really have to lock in on the world building as much as you do the first read, and so you can kind of gel with the characters a bit more on the second read. I think that's what happened. And so then going into Rag Picker King, I loved it, and I think Cassandra Clare has such a strong second book track record. It lived up to it. There was a reveal or two that I was like, oh yeah, predicted that, and then bang, she hits you with something you never even thought of. So I really recommend Swordcatcher and Rag Picker King. That's the book I wish everyone would read, or this series I wish everyone would read. So there we have it. We've gotten to the end of Bookmas Day 2. I've had a pretty good reading year. I'm on track with the same amount of books as last year. I have maintained a really good record, I suppose, of reading. So thank you for watching Bookmas Day 2. If you like this video, here's another one YouTube recommends for you, and stay tuned for more Bookmas content. I will see you next time.